Hello everybody, and thank you for the raid. Thank you, Foxy, for bringing your audience over. I've just been watching Foxy and myself. Foxy has been covering the Eurovision and a bit of Adam Mark, who is a paranormal streamer. Let me just adjust that to the right way. Foxy does not realise that behind the scenes there has been a bit of an emergency, because I tested everything earlier and it was fine, and I have since let my cat in the room, and in the last 5 minutes I've had to unplug and replug everything to get it working again. So we'll deal with that. I know there's a lot of cat fans in the audience, so we'll deal with the cat. So the stream mascot is my cat Polly. There's a Polly emote now, and Polly will be in. The door is open today, so Polly could come in, because this is a special sort of party stream. I think normally she might not come in unless I can create some sort of cover, because it's not really professional to have a cat pull out your USB cord halfway through, is it? It's funny, but it's possibly not what the audience want. Anyway, let's get into. There's a few big things to announce today, and before we get on to the announcement, I want to tease the actual content, because I've been saving a story. I've been saving a story especially for this day. It's my favourite true crime story. It pushes the bounds of believability, and it's also one in which, okay, people do go through a bad time, but nobody actually dies. It's not a serial killer story or a murder story. So it's far more fascinating, and I think that'll be coming up soon. But let's get into today's big news, which is thanks to the support of all of you who are watching, or have watched, or will be watching the VODs later on. I have managed to become a Twitch affiliate, which means if you are interested in subscribing, you now can, and there are some emotes, and this would be a good time for everyone, for my subs, to put them in the chat. There's more coming. We've submitted some to Twitch, and we're just waiting them to be accepted. But there is my cat, and there is a bit of another variation. So there's a few things coming. And I wanted to begin this stream because there are 3 people that I really wanted to make VIPs to thank them for all their help in getting me to affiliate. But it turns out those 3 people are already mods, and you can't be both. So sorry everybody. I'll keep you as mods, but ditch Foxy and Steve. I would have made you VIPs, but I can't, because you're far more important, I think. So thanks everybody for that. I will do some shout outs, because from the raid, there's some great people, and as this is about, thank you Leslie, thank you. As this is about thanking people for everything, I do want to make sure I shout everyone out. So firstly, let's go down those mods. I want to thank Steve Forward for a huge amount of help. You may have, if you've been coming to the stream regularly, you may have noticed incremental improvements over time, including some absolutely fantastic moving scenes. Now I'm just going to switch to one now, just so you can see the moving scene, and then I'll be back in a second. So you can just see, I mean, that's perfect, isn't it? That's brilliant. I love it. So thanks to Steve for all his help. Steve's a great classic rock guitarist. He plays Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Sundays. And you are correct in noticing that I stream on days when I'm not watching Steve. I mean, what can you do? Thanks to Foxy. She's a great streamer. She streams 3 days a week. I don't have it on the tip of my tongue, but she's Tuesday, Thursday, and maybe Saturday. She's a great variety streamer. Also in chat, we've got Karen Warbis, who is a great singer, and we've got Jinjin, who is just pure serotonin. Jinjin is a brilliantly accomplished pianist, and therefore may not be thrilled when I tell you that the other day I was absolutely glued to her making a cake of a cat's bum. Sorry. But it was fantastic. Steve storms off. So yeah, let's just make sure I've thanked everybody that I want to thank. Where are the buttons? Yeah, so I think that covers all of that. The other thing I should point out, so I've sadly I had to cancel Tuesday's stream. I had a really bad cold. It's mostly gone, but I have a cough. Hopefully, I will be able to slip into the be right back before I have to cough on stream. I also have a mute button, but I don't think watching me cough is any better than hearing me cough. So if I suddenly slip into be right back, it's because I'm having a cough. But I did not want to not do this. It may be it will be a shorter stream than the last one. But just to warn you. So I think that's everything. Oh yeah, the other thing, we are now streaming live on YouTube. So yeah, I have now got to look at 4 screens to see what's going on. So if I'm rude and I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm trying to run the console of a NASA spacecraft. We shall see what happens. And also, yes, I'm assured it is. I've got it up. It is working on YouTube. Again, that took a little bit of last minute tinkering with stream keys to get it working. But there we go. So everything so far has gone to plan. If Polly comes in, I apologise for when the stream goes terribly wrong. Get your remotes ready. Right. So you all want a really good story, and I feel today I have a really good story. I said in a previous stream, although people that aren't really into true crime, they just think it's all serial killers, and not to put down people that like serial killers, but what fascinates me most in true crime is con men. They are deeply insidious in the way they get into people, and I genuinely believe anybody can be affected by a con man, because they get you at the right time. If a serial killer is a knife that cuts you, a con man is a parasite that sucks away at you on a long period of time. And we are going to get into a story about one of the most remarkable and bizarre and barely believable con men I've ever come across. Now, I have to make some very important statements before I begin this. So, this story is about a man called Robert Hendy-Freegard. As you will find out, although he was convicted of something, that conviction was overturned. So, technically, he is not yet standing as somebody that's been found guilty. Now, I think I'm going to present you with enough material to show his guilt. Secondly, he was the subject of a major documentary a couple of years ago. He didn't exactly sue that documentary and deny it. And I want to add value. If I think, watching on both platforms, thanks Steve, that's brilliant. Oh yeah, I see you. You put a dog emote. That's not on brand. I don't really want to do a story on here where there is already a brilliant documentary without adding some sort of value. So if you already know about Robert Hendy-Freegard and have watched that documentary, what I will tell you is I have what has happened in the last couple of years that is not in that documentary. There is a major update. And that update does involve court. So, we will get into what happened. We will add some new stuff, but I do want to make clear, unlike a lot of what I've done, this has not been convicted in court. Hello Foxy on YouTube. So we will move forward. There will be a lot of allegedlys. I'm doing this because I strongly believe in the allegedlys. I'm not going to do something I don't think there's enough weight to. I'm not just going to do something for the hype or anything. So let's get on. Robert Hendy-Freegard, who I genuinely believe. Oh, thanks for giving a gift sub, Steve. You have gifted a sub to Thelonious Monk. Thank you very much. And I've and I've turned on the sub alert. Hey! Slightly planned for what's going to happen. So, I genuinely think Robert Hendy-Freegard is one of the most dangerous men in Britain, and you'll find out why, even though he's not killed anybody. Right, so we'll skip the preamble I put in the book and get straight in, because I think I've covered that. So, Robert Freegard, as he was then, was born in 1971 in Dronfield in England. He grew up with his mother and left school aged 15 with no qualifications. He trained as a joiner. Aged 20, he had a relationship with Alison Hopkins, which ended when he stole her credit card and money from her bank. He appeared in court, was charged with theft, but did not go to prison. Charges were also considered for attempting to hire men to kidnap her, but not levelled. In adulthood, he worked as a barman and a car dealer, and it was through these businesses he would meet many of his victims. So, let's start with Con 1. In 1992, Freegard was a barman in the Swan in Newport, Shropshire. And, gonna cough, so hang on. Sorry about that. Let's hope I keep hitting the right button. If I go like, if suddenly the end screen appears, it's not because I've given up. It's just because I'm an idiot. Right. So he was working in a bar, the Swan in Newport in Shropshire, and he got talking to a group of friends: Sarah Smith, Maria Hendy, and John Atkinson. These three were studying agriculture at Harper Adams University. So it's pro streamer, yeah. So he got talking to them, and he got talking to them as you would do if you're. I know I've been a student in the bar. You talk to the bar staff. That's all perfectly normal. But Freegard started telling Atkinson, who was the male, that he was actually an undercover MI5 agent who was investigating an IRA cell operating in the college. Now, back in 1992, this was a lot more believable, because the college was full of bomb-making essentials like fertilizer. It did seem, perhaps, to these young people, a relatively plausible place where there might be a security service monitoring. Freegard was very convincing. Atkinson began to believe him. Atkinson believed him so much that when Freegard said you must be given a beating to prove if you were loyal and could help the British state, Atkinson submitted to it and allowed Freegard to beat him up. Allegedly. So, having done this, he told Atkinson to act as an informer on his friends and report anything he spotted. And he began giving Atkinson a series of commands, a series of orders from MI5. In reality, Freegard was doing everything he could to push Atkinson away from his friends and groom him. And then Freegard did something. But if you're familiar with con men, you may be expecting that at this point Freegard will start getting large sums of money out of him. You can turn on a lot of documentaries and they'll be, I got chatting to a guy or a girl and they were like, I need this money, and you pay them the money, and it's not true. And all that does come into it. Freegard took a quite bizarre and almost unique step. He told Atkinson that his cover had been blown and that he and Atkinson would now have to go into hiding. He also persuaded Atkinson to bring Smith, who was now his girlfriend, and Hendy with them. But they weren't going to tell them yet that they were going on the run from the IRA. They told the ladies that Freegard had liver cancer, and they were all just going to go on one crazy last road trip all over the country. Now, obviously, nothing that I've just said is true. He's not an MI5 agent. He's a bloke with no qualifications in a bar. But he's a very, very persuasive man. And he was able to get into these people's heads to the extent that the three did run away, and they travelled. And as they travelled, they were subjected to more and more bizarre loyalty tests. And then Freegard said to them, I'm going to tell you the truth, that he was an MI5 agent. And because they were associated with him, their families were now at risk. They had to end all contact with their families and go permanently on the run. Years later, free and recovering, because for several people in this there are a happy end, Smith would explain, you can't actually say, oh, I'd never fall for it, because these people are actually very convincing. How would Freegard manage to con how many people he did? He knew everything about me, my bank account, my trust fund. I thought, how can he not be MI5 with that knowledge? And how was I even to know what an MI5 officer looked like? Those quotes are from the Times. So, they did end contact with their families. Freegard took them to Sheffield, made them hand over all the money they could get hold of, which in time included Smith's entire £180,000 inheritance. Atkinson would end up giving more, and we'll get to that in a minute. He kept them trapped, living in servitude, and believing this was all part of an MI5 plan to keep them safe. Smith said to the Times, he would say, the car is bugged, you're getting me into trouble with my superiors, you're threatening the operation. They were moved from one safe house to another in secret, living in terrible conditions and under his strict rules, fearing the IRA killers were constantly after them. Smith had to change her hairstyle and colour. Freegard now got into a relationship with Hendy, an 8-year relationship in which she became pregnant and gave birth to 2 children, while forced to live almost literally imprisoned in a small flat where Freegard took all her money. She too thought that Freegard was telling the truth and there were people out to kill them. Freegard now changed his name to Hendy-Freegard. He began physically assaulting Hendy, and the group would stay isolated, doing what Freegard told them for years. It was only in 2002 when Atkinson finally gave up and decided he would go and see his parents, who then contacted the police. At this point, Smith and Hendy remained lost, and Atkinson was broken, guilty at what he now realised he'd led the other two into. Smith's father sent private investigators to find her, believing the police were completely ineffective. We shall return to these people and what happened. But at the same time, Hendy was not just playing, I'm going to use the word playing with these people's lives. He would repeat the strategy over and over again, and is still doing it until very recently. He would befriend people, persuade them he worked for the security services or the police, and that he was operating in secret. He would bind them to him through loyalty tests, persuade them they were at the risk of harm from his enemies, cut them off from family and friends, take them away from their homes, and steal large sums of money. This money was spent on cars for him, Rolex watches, Savile Row suits. He might have had 5 or more victims on the go at the same time, many in different safe houses. One victim was told they had just £10 to survive on a week and they couldn't leave a motorway service station. And this was an entirely fictional, made-up scenario that for whatever reason Freegard decided to put them through. So we're now going to get through. Steve and Foxy are enjoying YouTube. It's good that works. Well, it's good when something works, isn't it? Such as streaming on several places. I don't know if I have enough monitors to do Kick. I'd have to get one up there or something. Anyway, in 1995, Freegard began a relationship with Elizabeth Bartholomew, who was married. He persuaded her that the inevitable divorce would require money and she should take out loans. She did take out a lot of loans. And Freegard began another series of bizarre requests. She needed to go on the run. He had her sleeping on park benches, drinking water from public toilets, living on slivers of chocolate bar. When she was finally found and retrieved by the police, she was thin, covered in sores. In 1996, Freegard, "Hey Cat, good to see you in." Freegard persuaded Leslie Garden of Newcastle that IRA terrorists released under the Good Friday Agreement were going to kill him unless they were paid off. She handed over £16,000 over 6 years. He also stole her car and her money. In 2000, Freegard was working at a Sheffield car salesroom, and he got his claws into the director of a different company. Renata Kister, who was pregnant and recently single. He told her MI5 had sent him to monitor people in the firm, got her to buy him a new car and loan him £15,000. However, he also told Kister that a young woman he was working with was in witness protection, couldn't speak English, and he needed to stay in Kister's house for a month. It was Sarah Smith, and she did live in the house, not speaking, for a month. Also in 2000, Freegard was working at a car salesroom in London, where he persuaded a new customer called Caroline Cowper to fit the bill for setting him up for a new car business. They slept together, he took her on holidays all over the world, but she had to pay for everything. When she dumped him finally, she realised he'd stolen £14,000, and she contacted the police. At this point, they became aware that Hendy, Atkinson and Smith were still missing, and they started to look for them. And now we come to the first trial. Now, if you've seen the documentary, you will be wondering why I've referred to the word first. I'll get to that. In 2002, Freegard formed the relationship that would land him temporarily in prison. He started an affair with an American child psychologist called Kimberly Adams. He told her he was undercover in a criminal gang and he'd killed someone who tried to expose him. He proposed, but said the marriage could only become ahead if she became an agent with him, cut off her family, and they would go to the Hebrides to spy on Russian submarines. He cut her off from work by telling her employers that she was terminally ill and leaving. He would ring her parents, he'd isolated from her, tell her he was MI5, and they must send thousands and thousands of pounds to pay for her spy training. On the few occasions they actually managed to speak to her, she was crying. Adam's parents were not going to go along with this, and they went to the FBI and the British police, and they planned a trap. They recorded Adam's parents offering Freegard 10 grand if they could meet their daughter, but they would only hand the money over in person when they had seen her. A meet was arranged. When Foxy stuck the Adam mark in. Yes, Adam Mark would have solved this, don't worry. When Freegard turned up at Heathrow Airport, he was arrested. They found Adams, but she was not happy to be found. She was terrified this was a setup by Freegard's enemies, and they were not real police. Freegard was telling people that anybody that came to save them may be trying to kill them. So police investigating Freegard continued to run into a problem. Many of his victims believed he was real, didn't want to compromise him to the police because they believed it were against him, or even thought it was the latest loyalty test. Anyway, they arrested Freegard. They'd found out he'd recently been with Adams in the Alps, traced their hotel rooms, and found documents mentioning many other victims, including credit cards and passports. Freegard refused to talk, blaming a massive conspiracy by the victims, but it raised a horrifying situation. How many others were out there, were still out there, were not known. But Atkinson, who had made his way out, Smith and Hendy were now freed. By this point, Atkinson and his family had been conned out of nearly £400,000. Smith had suffered the indignity of being moved to a safe house with a bucket on her head, and had been trapped in a bathroom for 3 weeks to avoid terrorists. She had been working 16-hour days in a chip shop eating their leftovers to survive and giving all the money to Freegard. Her family had handed over £180,000. She had also been forced to sleep with him. D.S. Brandon, who was investigating, said, "In 25 years as a detective, I've never come across such an accomplished liar. He was just very, very good at spotting people's vulnerabilities, exploiting them and keeping them under his control. All those who testified against him are now on the road to recovery, but he stole a chunk of their lives that they can never get back." And it turned out Freegard had a motto: lies have to be big to be convincing. Freegard went on trial, and it lasted 8 months. On June 23rd, 2005, Freegard was found guilty of the kidnapping of Atkinson and Smith, as well as 10 counts of theft and deception. He was sentenced to life. And that's the end of... No, it's not. It's not the end of the story. In fact, it's really far from the end of the story. Because he appealed. And the Court of Appeal had to consider what kidnapping actually meant in British law. They decided persuading people to travel and do things simply by lying to them in this instant did not constitute kidnap. They had gone where they had been asked, but they had not, in a sense, been forced physically. His life sentence was quashed. He served time until May 2009 for the conning. His victims, as you might imagine, were not impressed. The judge at our hearing said he was giving those sentences because he believed Freegard to be a risk to people, Smith said. Not specifically men or women, just people in the future. How did I feel when he got that out? Pretty shit. He'd served less time than I did, which was no justice. She knew exactly what would happen next. I'm also concerned that if he is let out again, it would be so easy for other people to be at risk. I'm sure he will do it again. He did. In 2011, yes, Kat, actually, I would have thought it would be by force as well. You would, and it turns out there really isn't a law that would put somebody capable of destroying their lives like this away for the amount of time you might have thought they should probably go. In a sense, this isn't. In a sense, the conning laws in Britain are designed to do one thing. This whole massive, life-changing cycle of punishment and slavery isn't something that's really that common, and there wasn't really a way to precisely tackle it, which meant Freegard was free to do this again, once again, for the benefit of any lawyers. I mean, allegedly. In 2011, David Freegard was now just calling himself David Hendy, and he chatted up a drug breeder, Sandra Clifton, through online dating. He persuaded Clifton with a new story. He was a wealthy advertising executive. However, over the next few years, Clifton's family found she became ever more distant from her. Freegard began to manipulate her to break all her connections. First, he implied her son Jake had stolen jewellery and made the situation at home so unpleasant. At 16, he went to live with his father. Daughter Sophie would later say, "I've been totally brainwashed. Every day he would say, 'You don't ever want to speak to your dad again, do you?' Again and again. It was like a drill." He started to take 75% of her wages, not let her go out, and demanded she give £10,000 from her savings. Eventually she fled to her father's too. In 2014, David and Sandra vanished. For a long time her family hadn't seen her. From there, Freegard's life became murkier, as no one knew where he was, what he was doing. It seemed likely he was running a dog breeding business in Britain or France. France. We will get to France. Now, Kat, I'm going to pick up what you said there and do a bit of promo. Kat says, "I missed the start, so I'm not sure of the exact details. If you come in halfway through any of these streams or you want to hear anything again, the VODs are all uploaded to YouTube. I mean, they're on Twitter. They're on Twitch for a little bit, but they are all on YouTube forever. and they are uploaded. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say instantly because I upload them. I mean, the YouTube stream should log, but I will be putting up the VODs as well. I feel a bit weird doing that sort of dropping out of the story to go, by the way. And if you want to see any of the back issues, I don't know what the word's called. I read books. I write books. I call them back issues. I'm sorry. Back catalogue? Steve, what's the word for a catalogue of streams? Should have found this out. Oh, hello, Janosch. Hello. Janosch is from Australia and is a first-time chatter. Good to see you. Good to see you. VODs. Okay. Yes, all the VODs are on YouTube. And they will be living there. So, what happened next? The Clifton children recruited their father, although he had split up. He was very much concerned by what had happened, and they all got together to try and find out what was going on. They discovered that this man that she'd been talking to was actually practice conman Robert Hendy-Freegard, and they looked for help. And they went to the police. The police managed to find Sandra, and they told her what they knew. But she said she already knew who David really was, and she was going to stay with him anyway, even though she had abandoned. Well, I'm not going to say abandoned, even though she'd been pulled away from her whole family. It is unclear what she actually thought and what Freegard had told her. It seems unlikely she got the full story, but it's slightly possible. Certainly Jake has an opinion, the son Jake has an opinion on this. The problem is my mum has been trained and controlled to do whatever Freegard wants her to say and do. When the police found her to tell her that we wanted to hear from her and tell her who she was with, she said, "I'm not bothered, I know who I'm with." The police technically don't have any grounds to say or do anything, because as far as they're aware, she's happy and healthy. Sadly, the law doesn't do a lot to people for my mum. Yes, now obviously you could argue the law doesn't do a lot to people in violent cases, but this con man, as I said, was like a parasite. He had got into somebody and was destroying their life in a way that there was really very little legal recourse for. It was at this point that the Cliftons... Katz just said, I couldn't be controlled even if I came with instructions. I'm not making any comment on that. I feel like if I went any further, I'd be jumping into a rather large minefield. But fair enough. And in the context of this story, that is 100% the way to be. Moving swiftly on. So it's at this point that the Cliftons, still searching for their mother, started in this documentary about the crimes of Freegard to try and get information. It was called Puppet Master. It's on Netflix. If you want to see the victims talking, this is the way to go. Although, as I've said, we have some information that is not in the documentary coming up. So, once the documentary came out, there were a whole lot more eyes on Freegard, and the Times was able to find him. Partly because he wasn't trying very hard to disappear. He turned up at prestigious dog show Crufts under Sandra's name and as David Clifton. There is no doubt, like countless others before me, he told the Times when they said, and countless others after me, that I have regrets in life, some profoundly deep regrets at that. There are many things I do so wish could have and should have been very different, indeed for all of us involved with it. I would be the very first to admit that I made some senseless mistakes in life, of which I do unreservedly and unequivocally offer my most sincerest apologies. However, and it's a monumental however actually, I have sat back and tried very hard for so long for the sake of primarily my children and those involved to shun the spotlight and let the untruths go uncorrected. It seems that there are those who were involved in this sorry episode that must obviously need reminding of a large number of facts and truths that they've either forgotten or have chosen to ignore. It is with great sadness that Sandra is not allowed to live her life with who she loves and who loves her. That was published in the Times in January 2022. Some dog breeders, finding Freegard's holier-than-thou attitude, had worked out who he was. They didn't like him, they were suspicious, they worked it out. The Times said, he wanted to use one of my dogs as a stud, and I just said, if you're about Hendy-Freegard, then the answer's no. He tried to make out he was his twin brother. Once again, really really deniable explanation. I'm going to stop there because Thelonious appears to have 25 cats, which hold that thought, Thelonious, because I have a raid planned for the end of this that involves basically 25 cats. Thank you, Thelonious, for allowing me to tie all of this together in a way that I thought I would just be going, hey, let's go and see a lot of cats, but now it looks like it's a true progression in the strip. That now it looks pro. Oh, thank you, Steve, for using the poly emotes. Yes, if anyone would like to get hold of the ever-growing amount of emotes, you can now subscribe, because this is my first affiliate show. Admittedly, there is only one emote you need, and that's my cat. She's not come in yet. She is a creature of herself. Yeah, for the benefit of people at home, I'm not going to read that out, Cat, but Cat's dog has been very, very naughty. We'll just leave it there. Anyway, even so, Steve Ford first affiliate show. Oh my god, yeah, this is the. I think you're leading me to mention that again. Yes, I have very fortunately, thanks to the support of a great many people, including the audience who have come along to see me, I have managed to. Oh no, she's ill. Oh, in that case, Kat, I feel really awful, and I'm very sorry, and I hope your dog is better soon. I have managed to become an affiliate, which I'm very pleased to have done, and therefore this is my first affiliate stream. So if anyone is watching and would like to subscribe, can. If you are watching and you like this though, a follow is just as appreciated. Then you'll always be reminded of when I'm starting. And the same goes on YouTube. Kidney failure. Yeah, my cat's got a kidney disease. That's a tricky thing. You've got about 6 that look like my cat. Yes, but my cat's better than those. Right. Oh, thank you, Tom. Tom Hansen, thank you very much for subscribing. Tom Hansen is a brilliant drummer. He's my favourite drummer on Twitch. And if you want a really good double header, Tom tends to go on after Steve Wednesday and Fridays. Tom also streams Saturdays, and it's a brilliant rocking evening of music. And you'll normally find me hanging around in there. Again, this is why I'm not streaming on Friday nights, because I'm watching my weekly gig. Thanks, Tom. So now we're going to get to the bit about this that I'm most excited about. Oh yes, thank you, Foxy, for giving Tom a shout out. Do follow Tom. So far, I've really only given you stuff that you could have found out in the documentary. However, there has been a very, very big development. It turned out that Freegard had moved operations to France, and he had an animal breeding situation in France, and animal rights inspectors came to check if the business of this British man in France was actually legal. There had been complaints. In fact, locals had seen the documentary, thought that British guy looked like the bloke off the documentary, and rang the police. So the police went to his residence to check on him, and Freegard panicked and sped off in a car and hit 2 of the police officers with it. Freegard continued to flee, obviously now having committed a serious assault with a vehicle, and he was arrested in Belgium. He was extradited to France. At time of writing, he is in prison in France awaiting a trial, and he could be charged with attempted murder, which has a maximum 30 years in prison. He may finally get put in prison. They also found Sandra. Neighbours had been concerned about the lady who lived with him for a long time. They told the press she never went out apart from her own small courtyard. I've been writing to the police, the prefect, the mayor's office, but they never took it seriously. Again, at time of writing, it is believed Sandra has finally started accepting what the authorities are saying and discussing a way forward. However, there's a problem. When they searched the house, they found a lot of mobile phone and a lot of contacts that could not be explained. It is entirely possible that there are multiple victims in France right now, as I'm saying this, unaware of who he is and unaware of able to get out. I'm really sorry to hear that, Kat. It's always terrible when something bad's happened to your pet, but it sounds like you're giving her all the love you can, and that she'll appreciate that. So, why does he do this? What's his aim? Is it just money? Well, it doesn't appear to be just money. In order to protect the mental health of the victims, during the Netflix documentary's creation, psychologists were involved to talk to the victims to make sure they were okay. One of them was Professor Rod Dubrow-Marshall, who's an expert in coercive control. And I'm going to give you a nice quote from him about what he may be up to. So he thinks they gain pleasure and power from traumatising others. The behaviour exhibited with Sandra Clifton shows all the red flags of coercive and controlling behaviour. And if you put that together with what is known already about this person's propensity for deception and coercion, clearly he presents a significant risk. What we don't have as a society is a coercive and controlling register. So I do think there's an issue here of public protection. And I do think the government should be thinking about it. Where there is evidence of people convicted of coercing and controlling behaviour not mending their ways, I think the public needs to be warned. Unfortunately, the legal system seems to fail the victims. I think it is really important, also almost as a matter of public service, that it's highlighted that individuals like this exist. My point is that the government needs to take notice. It needs to make it easy for the public and for the Crown Prosecution Service to take action against perpetrators of this nature. And that is Robert Hendy-Freegard. Yeah, Kat, I hope it goes well, I really do. So, what do we think of that? Oh, Steve says truly gripping. That's good, thanks Steve. Yeah. Glad you like it. As I said, that is a story that goes to such bizarre areas, but yet also highlights such dangers that it's probably my favourite true crime story, because I think it reflects a lot on people, on criminals, on the justice system, and holes in it. It's also completely bizarre, which is something I like a lot of. So I'm glad you all like that. If he gets convicted, or even if he stands trial, would I agree it's hard to legally prove? Oh, of course, yes, definitely, but I don't think that means we shouldn't try. I think in many areas the legal system needs vast reform, and certainly this case illustrates how somebody is able to harm people and slide all the way through it without anyone stopping them. And clearly somebody should. Thank you, Thelonious. I'm glad you're liking this. So I will keep this show updated on what happens in this case. whether he gets convicted, whether he gets out again, what goes on. I'll keep you updated. So I've got through that without coughing too embarrassingly. So I think we'll do another one. I've got another one lined up, and this is a mystery. Now I do love a good unsolved mystery. A real good discursive thing. And this is a good one. So I've got a couple of plans. I would like to do an unsolved special, which is just things where we just don't know. Now, obviously, there's an awful lot of unsolved crimes that are just, horrible crimes where nothing's happened. But there's also cases where, there's a bit more, something you could put on a show and have a discussion and get to things. There's too many unsolved cases. I think we can all agree. But there are some that are perhaps interesting as opposed to purely tragic. Cold cases, yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We'll be doing a lot going forward, but that's an unsolved special I think we'll have soon. Steve, well, he's not taught me into. He's introduced the idea of me doing a Halloween show where I just do I just leave the research in the back for a night and just do spooky crimes that if you it may not come across, but I have a certain level of research that I have to do before I put anything on this. Had I not been ill, I would have done a few more unsolved cases tonight. I haven't had time to adequately do them, but when we do the Halloween stream, or perhaps a few other spooky streams, I will just go all out on the storytelling side of it, and purposely put the. Well, we can disprove this. Goldley, did you watch the series I told you about? Yes, I did. Really interesting. I've also been watching Baby Reindeer as well, much like the entire country. That's I'm not going to get into that today because folks, we're into the spooky stuff. Is it any good? Now the thing is, I'm very reluctant to say something's good or bad, because even if I like it, I'm not really sure if somebody else will. I don't know. I liked it. Let's just say all I can say is I liked it. So I think you should give it a go. Let's put it that way. All I can do is say if I liked something, and I did like it. So, in fact, there's been a rash of releases. I feel like in the last month there's been quite a lot of interesting stuff come out. Which should be good. The thing is though, I kind of want to do a spooky stream soon. Halloween's quite far away. I've already missed the they have Christmas in July, whenever it is. Well, I've already missed Halloween in May because that was the first. I was tragically a bit late to do that, but we may do a spooky stream sooner rather than later. When I find a suitable excuse. So if anyone knows any anniversaries that I can crowbar in to just do a spooky stream, then we'll do it. We shall see. Right. Well, we're now going to get to hang on. I'll find it in a minute. Yeah, go for it, please do. Not tomorrow. Give me a bit of time, in a week. Having said that, I do need like a week to prep. I feel like Kat's going to come up with 1 a.m. on the 10th of May, and that's in 18 minutes. Oh, thank you very much, Sydney, for the tier 1 subscription, and I'd just like to thank Sydney Sydney was my 50th follow. And if you know anything about getting to affiliate, you know that 50 follows is a big number. So thanks, Sydney, for that. Sydney does these wonderful real life streams where he just shows you a beautiful part of the world. So thanks. And that, Sydney, is my cat Polly. I've made a big thing about it. We've opened the door tonight if Polly wants to come in. Polly has not come in. Polly has not come in because probably because me being an idiot brought her a brand new cat bed. And for the first time in recorded history, a cat has sat in the cat bed. Well, and that's probably where she is now. Probably should have got that out tomorrow, but I didn't. I didn't think she'd actually sit in it. I mean, if you've got a cat, you buy them something, they never use it, they just sit in the box. That's normal. That's the plan. Thank you, Cindy. I got the cat bed out, and the cat sat in it. The cat's supposed to be here. Thank you, Cindy. Your help it was huge, Cindy. You got me over that hump. And then it was all about cracking on to get to affiliate. So that's been brilliant. Leslie says, well known, yeah. Foxy says, I bought one for mine once. He looked at it, smelt it, then walked away. Yep. Have you just... Right, Kat, have you just tried to put something in? Or did you put 3 asterisks? Right. 2 options. If you come into my Discord, you can send me any link you want in there. So links are blocked on chat, as in most of Twitch. So if somebody, I'll just do a quick. What's a Discord? Yeah, that's a good plan. Otherwise, what's the best thing to do? You can email me, you can tweet me, you can go to my you can leave a link on the VOD in YouTube, and I will find it any of these ways. Just trying to think what the best way for you to do. Yours are always in your beds. Well, that's brilliant, Thelonious. I'm pleased. Mine is normally on my bed. By I say my bed, I mean the cat's bed. Well done on your son's graduation. Excellent. Well, that sounds promising. Yes. Crime on this day. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one, Steve. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Doing something like that. As I say, this is an ongoing project. I was going to say I've seen the crown jewels, but I have a feeling I haven't. I have a feeling I've just seen the replicas that are on display, and the actual crown jewels are a mile below London in a bunker. Call me a bit sceptical. Mind you, it was a good 40 years ago, so maybe they might have been real. I don't think they'd be there now. That's something for me to Google later. Did I see the real crown jewels, or did I see fakes? This was back then. That was the era. I believe that was the classic era of the Wax Museum. I'm now going to go a bit off tangent, because as well as true crime and horror, I feel there's an intersection. I don't know in the Wax Museum. When I used to be a child, over 40 years ago, we travelled around the country a lot, and there was often local wax museums, and these would mix. Here's the king. Here's the queen. Here's the president of America, and then here's some horrible local crime that we've illustrated in wax. And there did seem to be a lot of that mixed in. And you don't really hear about wax museums now. I don't know how many of them are. I mean, there's obviously to swords, but I'm talking about these real brilliant little local places. And there's still lots of local museums, but I feel like the wax museum as a thing has dropped off. And there was an element, of course. There was an element. I'm going to get boringly historical now. There was an element when the wax museum was vital, because communications aren't what we have today. It could be quite difficult, 100 years ago, to really know necessarily what somebody looked like. A wax museum would be a good chance to go and go and get a three-dimensional face. You didn't have telly. August 31st. Yeah. Now, Tom, I am in the middle of writing my first true crime dossiers in depth, which is a full history of the Jack the Ripper murders. There is no chance of me having it done for August 31st because I'm one of these really boring people that does a huge amount of research. So I'm not sure when it will finally be out, but I've got 50,000 words, and might get it up to 100. I've got a nice framework. So we will definitely then do a Jack the Ripper stream. But when the book is done and coming out, I plan on doing, at least 10 in a row, covering all the aspects. Yeah, so one of the futures of these streams is really big things will have a lot more attention paid to them, and the first real major focus will be Jack the Ripper. And as I said, there will be quite a lot. We will go very in depth on it, and create a really good set of videos that can sit on YouTube for people to refer to. And that is one of the ambitions of this stream, and that is one of the first projects which is ongoing. So yeah. Right, shall we? I think I've been wittering now for quite a while. Let's get into a really good mystery. So the question is, who was Jennifer Fairgate? Now, before anybody in chat points out, no, she was not Jennifer Fairgate. Right. I know it's a bit. Who was this? And here's a name. Oh, Kat said only 50% of murders are solved in the USA. Yes. Although I can't vouch necessarily for that figure, it must be something around that. We do have a serious issue with the success of both policing and the legal system in prosecuting. I'm not going to make this a political stream ever. I'm just going to do the crimes as neutrally as I can, but I think at times it will bleed across a dissatisfaction, and possibilities of improvement in the way I think things could and perhaps should be done. One of the things I've discovered writing these books and then doing these streams, almost every serial killer has a point in their history where if law enforcement had acted differently, they could have been stopped. Now, obviously, law enforcement are not psychic, they're not God, they're not, prophets. I meant prophets as in the talking about the future part. But there is a lot that perhaps was missed. So that'll slowly come out. But yeah, it is a problem. Well, I think one of the other things I want to say is I appreciate the audience watching this stream. I don't want anyone to ever go away feeling stressed or unhappy, which is one reason why I'm going to be well, firstly, I don't really know many or any other true crime streamers to raid, so I've decided that when we raid, it will be upbeat endings. We'll go somewhere. We'll go to a craft stream, or we'll go to a music stream. We'll go somewhere sort of happier, which is why I've set up some cats for later. Well, I better check. I'll check they're on, but I've got the most insane cat bait. Yeah, they're on. So I'm promising you everyone a lot of cats. Stick with it. because my one is asleep on the bed that I never. I mean, that's 20 quid well spent, isn't it? Right, I've been wittering on. You want some crime? Who was Jennifer Fairgate, aka the Oslo Plaza woman? So, that is a good That is a good emoji, and I can't tell from the name whose it is. Is that somebody called Scaredy who's got a cat emoji? I'm derailing the stream to admire an emoji. Please tell me who's that. Is this a normal emoji that's on Twitch that everyone can use that I've just not seen? Oh, good Lord, that's a normal Twitch. Right. Somebody is it's a Prime one. Well, I've got Prime, so I am now going to be nicking that. Right, well, I've bookmarked that for the horror stream, everybody. Right. So, for those of you who aren't... Ditch Boy is... Right, firstly, I need to explain that Ditch Boy is my oldest friend. He is Alan. He is a streamer, and he is famous for meme subbing people. So Ditch Boy has just subscribed. Now, let's face it. I've just talked about sort of murder and stuff, so I'm allowed to read this out. Ditch Boy has just gifted a tier 1 sub to Two Cocks One Hand. And to be honest, Ditch, I would expect nothing less. Now, I would like to point out that when Foxy did a Make Me Laugh stream the other day, I meme subbed her. Squirrels have large hands, but I feel you've gone in a different direction that I didn't. I would like to point out, Foxy, I am aware that account exists. I did not use that because I thought you would ban me. So, if you think that was funny, Foxy, Ditch has got about 200 of these. Ditch has given a tier 1 sub to Pegged by Mum. Well, it's a good thing I already have to put the age rating on, because this is a crime stream. So it's not like it's not like there's any children allowed here, because we talk about people dying. So I guess the memes can keep coming. I'm going to put my own cat's emoji on in shock. Ditch has gifted a tier 1 sub to Come Buckets for Days. Do any of these people ever come in? Like, does the owner of that account ever come into the stream? Because it happened once. That's incredible. Oh boy! Right, well, this has now become a high wire act, hasn't it? Will they show up? At what point will they show up? Oh God! One of them popped up in Sooty's stream. Oh my God! All right. Well then, brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. Anything could now happen. Right, Ditch normally asks where Polly is. The door is open, Ditch, but I bought Polly a cat bed, and for the first time ever in history, Polly, a cat, is sat on their owner's cat bed. So I've kind of ruined tonight's cat activity. I'm just going to see if you actually message me to make sure if I turn my phone off, because I have. Steve's just put up an amazing bit of ASCII art in chat. You didn't get a notification, Ditch? Right, I really need to look into that. I don't know how to make that work properly. I will look into it. To be fair, the sort of notifications I get from Twitch are a throw a 6 to start as well. I don't really know how to make it work for myself, let alone my own streams. So. Yeah, I mean, I did WhatsApp you earlier, but don't worry about that. Big heart from Steve. I have to keep right. I'm reminding myself to look at YouTube. I think I've got the hang of keeping an eye on both chats. I think that's going well. All right, should we do some actual crime then? Well, I mean, I've got to point out the viewers list has stayed. Oh, so I have just reached my first affiliate goal of reaching 10 subs, thanks to Ditch Boy, who has gifted a sub to Arse Tickler. Obviously, any subs are appreciated, and I would in no way ever sit here thinking, oh God. Right, should we get into some actual crime? Because the audience is still here, but I feel like they might want some crime at some point. So it's not every day I get to meet my new streamer. How do you get to see if your Prime worked, Cat? We could play some Mario. I've not had a notification, Cat, about your Prime, so I would suspect it hasn't worked, because I get to see all these things. Yeah, that's a good one. If you refresh, you should have access to my emotes. Yeah, if it's worked, you'll get the emotes. If it hasn't worked, you haven't got the emotes. Good point. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, sure, Steve. Yeah, sure. So we need to help Kat with how to do a Prime sub. I can't. I've got. Hang on a minute. I will try and help you out. Let me go into here. Oh, good Lord. Oh, good Lord. Ditch Boy has done a phenomenal sub bomb, which has single-handedly solved Cat's Prime problem, and has also given subs to Irarolak, King Cobra, T-Gun, Karen Warbis, somebody whose name, with all due respect, I'm not going to insult by pronouncing, Harmoony Leslie, 7-8 time, and Yanosh. We need some alerts. Yeah, okay. Yeah, alright. Did I mention I've been in bed ill? No sympathy for Ditch. Yeah, we'll get some proper alerts in. I mean, I didn't want to presume that I'd need them, but I clearly. Well, thank you very much. I brought you lunch last week. That's true. I do owe you lunch. Yeah. The pasty was good. The sausage roll was legendary. I've been pondering whether to order again, and if I did, exactly how much to spend. I don't know whether I should give food shout outs on here, given how many people. But if anyone is in, how do I not do it? If anyone is in Bedfordshire, if anyone is wondering, I'm a terrible influence on him. Well, I won't go as far as terrible. Interesting influence on me, perhaps. Ditch introduced me to a vegetarian curry pasty, which was amazing. And which I'm trying very hard not to spend all my money on. But now I've got some subs, so maybe that will happen. Have you used my new mug? Well, because I was ill, sadly, I had to cancel 3 social events, which meant I had no opportunity to give anybody a mug that has an octopus hidden at the bottom, sent by Ditch. I feel it's a one-use mug, because whoever drinks out of that mug is going to get terrified and hurl it as far as they can. But it will still be funny, I suppose. Yeah, I thought it was 50, but it doesn't really matter. Cat would use the mug, right? When you say you'd use the mug, Cat, would you use the mug to drink out of yourself for fun, or would you use the mug on your family and friends? Because this is quite an important difference. I think if I used the mug, I would actually forget it was that mug and then scare myself. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I don't really want to drop a mug full of coffee over everything, but all right, let's get into a mystery. There will be an exam at the end of this, by which I mean I'm expecting you all to be able to give me your theories, and it's quite. There's a simple binary theory. You definitely drink out of it, right? No, there's no problem with the derail. Tonight is entirely based on how long I can keep going without coughing to death, and I've gone really quite well. This has already exceeded my expectations, so no problem. Which means I haven't had to use my lovely moving scenes as much. So sod it, we're just going to use one now for a little bit. I mean, why not? Oh, thank you, Kat. Okay, so on May 31st, a woman who called herself Jennifer Fairgate checked into the Oslo Plaza Hotel in Oslo. Sorry if that sounds sort of patronising, but I feel it's necessary just to clarify that the Oslo Plaza Hotel is in Oslo. Sometimes, Did you say not going to lie? You look like someone one of these tales would be about in that photo. I mean, I'm not going to deny anything. Surely that's the draw of the story, of the storyteller, that they look like they might actually know what they're talking about. You do see, you do see some people and you think, not really sure this is you, but we'll see. Anyway, so Jennifer Fairgate had booked a room for 2 people, her and Louis Fairgate. She filled in all the paperwork, gave an address for her home in Belgium, and went to her room. During this period, she spoke English and German. During the next few days, she left the room occasionally, because the key card monitors when you come and go in the room, or at least when the door's been open. So, she left the room occasionally, once being out for 20 hours. From the room, she called 2 phone numbers in Belgium, both only 1 digit apart. She ordered an ironing board and an iron to be brought to the room. At 6 minutes past 8 in the evening on June 2nd, she ordered room service, and the bratwurst and potato salad was delivered, where she gave a 50 kroner tip. This is about $5, which is still locally an unusually large amount to tip for room service. That delivery, I'll just finish this and then we'll get to what Ditch has just done. That delivery was the last time she was seen alive. Hotel staff were to find her dead in her room on the 3rd, lying on the bed, having shot herself in the forehead with a Browning 9mm pistol, which is still in her hand. The door was double locked from the inside, and both issued key cards were inside. Well, that sounds like an open and shut case. Is it? Ditch has just gifted a sub to Radioactive Rock. I feel I'm going to do the Radioactive Rock story on chat. When we were playing video games, I don't know, over 35 years ago, there was a video game. When I say video games, I don't even mean consoles. I mean back on stuff like C64s and things. There was a game where one puzzle, you had to defeat a clam. And it didn't tell, this is back when things were a lot harder, there was no hints. And it turned out that you had to defeat the clam by dropping some radioactive rock into the clam. And I can tell you this took us quite a while to work out. And it makes sense. It makes sense to me now. It did not make sense to me necessarily at the time. But ever since, we've had a little bit of an in-joke. Now it's obvious. Exactly, it's obvious. A little bit of an in-joke about clams and radioactive rocks being obviously enemies. Can you remember the name of the game? Because I blatantly am not going to be able to. I've been sat here talking away, trying to scratch up the. Our friend complained how impossible it was to work out. And we were like, well, what? Seems reasonable. What's the name of the game for the benefit of the viewers? Because I can't remember. While Ditch Googles that, we'll get back to this mystery. So, Jennifer Fairgate, she checked into a room. She was found in a room locked from the inside with a gunshot to the head. Seems pretty normal. No, there were a few major problems. And one of these problems is that Jennifer Fairgate didn't exist. So, this initially looked like a suicide, but there were initially a series of troubling details. Her hand had no gunpowder residue on it, not essential for a suicide, but normal for a suicide. The blood splatter was wrong. Again, not essential for it not to have been a suicide, but there was a normal sort of blood splatter. That was also unusual. Her hand was holding the weapon in an odd way, and the gun had a powerful recoil. The way she was holding the gun, it looked like it would have actually come out of her hand if she had shot herself. Also, the gun had been fired twice. It had been used to shoot once as a test shot into a pillow. Exactly. And what we're going to see here is an accumulation of doubt. So there's all of that. Also, the gun wasn't a real Browning. It was a Hungarian Cold War clone used by the military. Also, her fingerprints weren't on the gun that she had supposedly just shot herself with. Also, the gun's serial number had been burned off with acid. Almost all the tags and labels on her clothes had been removed. Only two remained on a Travelite bag and a Renault Lizard jacket. These were sold in Germany but provided no help to investigators. Her address in the Belgian village of Verlaine, doesn't exist. The phone number she gave doesn't exist. The phone numbers she'd rang also do not exist. She had misspelt Fairgate twice when filling the forms in and signed two different signatures. There was no other ID or documentation in the room, no passport, wallet or even keys. She had managed to get into the hotel without registering a credit card to pay. Yes, keep all these suggestions coming. I will be getting back and we will get into a discussion. Kidnapped, good choice. Ditch Boy's pointing out it's very difficult for someone to shoot themselves in the forehead. You're quite right. Again, a large accumulation of problems that make this seem like it wasn't a suicide. She had a gun and 25 rounds of ammunition, but no toiletries. Other than what she was wearing, she only had clothes for her top half. She had no trousers, skirts or knickers, but she had 4 jackets, a blouse and a sweater. There was no money left. The 50 krona note was the last of her cash. No trace of Lewis could ever be found, having ever been in the room, but there was an empty bottle of men's cologne. Yeah, 25 rounds for a suicide. Was she a terrible shot? Well, exactly. She had packed an awful lot of ammunition for somebody that was theorised to have sat in a hotel room and thought about whether she was going to shoot herself for 3 days. She packed an awful lot of jackets for somebody that didn't pack any trousers. Anyway, once again, we will keep coming back. We will get. So now we're going to find out how she actually died, was found, and how she was found also complicates the mystery. So, on the night of June 3rd at 7:30 p.m, the system alerts the receptionist that Jennifer has exceeded her credit limit. Not only has she exceeded her credit limit, she's managed to get into the hotel with no card listed. Therefore, money needs to be paid immediately. This receptionist triggers a message which pops up on the screen of Jennifer's room, which is room 2805 on the 28th floor. Somebody in the room presses OK. That happened. No one comes down. Yes, Ditch. Let's face it, isn't that just a perfect... I mean, that Agatha Christie is all over that. The receptionist does this again. She sends a message up. A button is acknowledged. Nobody comes down. The hotel are a bit worried. It's been several days. They're being ignored. They send a security guard to make contact. He goes up to her door and at 7:15 p.m. knocks on it. What he hears next is a gunshot. So they ran for help. They ran away from the door with their eyes off it and went to get security. The rest of security, I should say. 15 minutes later, the door was forced open, again having been locked, from the inside, and Jennifer was found dead. Had the security guard heard her commit suicide? Well, had he? There was a gunshot, but the autopsy found the bratwurst and potato salad that she had ordered the night before was undigested in her stomach, suggesting she had died shortly after eating it. Had she sat in a room with a meal for 24 hours before eating what state it was then in and then shot herself? Have I missed a gift sub? Sorry, hold. Oh no, it was, yes, King Kobe did a double sub bomb, King. Sorry, Ditch did a double sub bomb, King. Very kind of him. So, had she eaten the food the night before and been shot? Or had she sat there for 24 hours with a load of uneaten food? If she'd been shot the night before, who fired the gun? Who was pressing OK? Had somebody been in the room, maybe Louis, and then fled when the security guard had come, having fired the gun into the pillow as a distraction? Did they take up one of the missing bags? Again, we'll come to a thing in a minute. There were stuff that she was spotted with that was not in the room afterwards. And how did they lock the door? Fled from the 28th floor, exactly. So for many theories, this is where the pillow comes in. For proponents of this woman, whoever she was, not Jennifer Fairgate, because Jennifer Fairgate doesn't exist, it looked like Jennifer tested the gun by shooting the pillow at some point and then shot herself. So either the security guard heard the test shot and didn't hear the death shot, or she had tested the gun earlier, not been heard, and then she finally shot herself. Proponents of murder argue that Jennifer had really been killed on the night of the 2nd. The killer had stayed in the room for the whole time, or returned to it, fired into the pillow to scare the guard off, then fled somehow, having been able to lock the door without having a key card on the outside. Ditch has pointed out, I guess she might have hated the police and had decided to make it very difficult for them by eating dinner and shooting herself at an unlikely angle. Yes. So police did an autopsy and shared her photos. She's roughly 24 years old. 5'3", 147 pounds, blue eyes, short black hair. Her teeth had seen a great deal of work using gold and porcelain. This suggests she had access to money. However, nobody could ever identify the corpse. In 2016, the body was dug up and they got DNA. Again, they have not found a DNA match. It's probable she was German based on the DNA. Now, I have something very important to point out. If you Google this case, you will be presented by Google with a photograph of the living Jennifer Fairgate. No, you won't. There is no photograph of the living Jennifer Fairgate. Somehow the Google algorithm is serving up a different woman that seems to match this description. All we have are the photos of her after she's passed away and the reconstruction. So if you decide to Google this case, overlook that. That's the public service announcements. Thank you very much for putting up the poll. We'll get, yes, it's real. Yes, no, she had no residue on her hands and she did not have gloves. The blood splatter also suggested she did not shoot herself from close range. I think, Steve, unclear is the nature of this story. So keep voting as we get through where we're going. I'm now going to get to a man called Lars Christian Wagner. Oh, thanks, Steve. So the TV show Unsolved Mysteries did an episode on Jennifer, which saw a long-standing researcher, Lars Christian Wagner, speaking and visiting the village of Verlaine. You may have to refresh Cat. Often if I'm on a phone or something, I don't get to see what they call trains or poles. Yeah, it can be an issue. Try refreshing. That's all I can say. So he went to Verlaine, the village in Belgium, where Jennifer gave her address, and he discovered something in Belgium. So the modern missing persons system in Belgium was only created after the crimes of serial killer Marc Dutroux. He managed to exploit the previous system to such an extent that it had to be reformed. Jennifer died shortly before Marc Dutroux began killing. It is possible that a local police report about a missing woman like Jennifer could be sat in a drawer somewhere in the police office in Belgium. Jennifer really could have been at some point in that area and slipped through the cracks. It is an actual thing. So, Lars Wagner has really tried very hard to push this story through as much as he can, and find as much as he can, and he's found a lot of fascinating things. So, firstly, if you ordered a newspaper in the hotel, it was delivered to you in a bag with your room number on. There was a newspaper in Jennifer's room in a bag labelled 2816. That was not her room. How did it end up in her room? We don't know. Wagner has never been able to find out who was in 2816. But he did discover that the man in 281A called the local police to report a couple acting suspiciously, and that the room opposite Jennifer had a Belgian man in it. When Wagner traced and contacted this Belgian man, which became known as Mr. F, he said he only learned about the death when he was told on the morning of the 3rd. Obviously this is a major problem. Either this was a mistake because nobody knew she was dead until the evening of the 3rd, or it's a tell and he knew she was dead. When asked about this discrepancy, Mr. F ghosted Wagner, which again, generally speaking, is not the most innocent behaviour in the world. Sadly, nobody knows, apart from Wagner, who Mr. F is. So let's pause and have a look at what the theories chat are coming up with, because this is what this story is all about. So Ditcher said, so a suicide in which she shot herself just enough to die, but not enough that she died fast enough to hide evidence. That took a lot of skill. Yes, exactly. Ditch has also come up with a theory. If I read this theory out, Ditch, you will not be able to write the best-selling crime novel it deserves, because that's pretty ingenious. You may want to keep that one. So what else? The suicide theory. The room staffer who gave the room service staffer who gave the food gave a description of what Jennifer had worn when she opened the door. Even though Jennifer didn't go out, between that description and her body being found, some of that clothing was not in the room. Where had it gone? Oh, the poll is finished, and we've got a 3-3 draw between unclear motive and Jennifer was faking it. Yes, and I think a 3-3 draw is pretty much where we end up with this case, but we'll carry on. Additionally, when Jennifer had left the room, housekeeping cleaned it and saw a pair of shoes. Given that, as Wegner points out, she must have been wearing shoes when she went out, that means she had 2 pairs of shoes. When she was dead, there was only 1 pair of shoes found. So where did they go? Yes, I can create slash polls and let chat guess the outcome. Right, let me try building a poll. You're quite right. I do. I do know where this is going, but I do not know. Open a setup menu to create a poll. Press that. I'm not seeing anything. But I have got a button here. Right. We are setting up the poll now. This is going to give away slightly where we might be going with this. So this is the right time to introduce the poll. Here we go. Are you ready for these options? Well then, chaps, your options are suicide or assassination. Yes, things are about to get a little bit more mysterious. So to just finish off with what Mr. Wegner has, I can no longer vote. I've used up all my channel points. Can you not just vote normally, like a normal person, instead of bombing the vote? Is that not? I don't know. Right. Well, there's a clear leader, but people may wish to change their mind if I get on with this. So, Wegner has established that Jennifer's jewellery was German. Yet in his long, constantly updated investigation for VG, Wegner spoke to Tom Storm Olsen, who worked on the police case for a year. He's adamant. Could someone else have removed evidence from this scene? And the police said, that's not possible based on the information we had. So where did it go? The police are saying nothing was taken from the scene, but there's plenty of evidence of things that aren't in the scene. So, conclusions, possibilities. The simplest solution is still that Jennifer shot herself. It is easy to understand how someone, perhaps distressed or depressed, not thinking clearly, packed badly, got hold of a gun, went to a hotel, struggled with themselves for several days, and then shot themselves. Perhaps you can understand how an elegant woman from apparent wealth would never be reported missing. It doesn't sound very likely, does it? Does it sound any more? Dishboy said she used a flammable string to pull the trigger that was lit and consumed by the muzzle flash. Yeah, I think that she's taking this into full-on David Blaine territory, which, to be fair, is no stranger than some of the theories that are out there. But I'm about to take this somewhere else. Unsolved Mysteries also interviewed Norwegian intelligence agent Ola Kildaga, who believes that Jennifer, whoever she was an intelligence agent who was assassinated. Now, she had a gun where the markings had been acid edged off. She had tags taken out of her clothing. Things traditionally, but perhaps not accurately, associated with security work. Now, this isn't the Oslo itself had been the scene of very high-ranking negotiations in very high-ranking world events. It was a place where things happened. The idea that an intelligence agent would do these things is not impossible. But it turns out that Norway has a history of mysterious deaths of Belgians with their clothing tags cut out. In 1987, a man who's never been identified was found dead in Norway near rail lines, called Cambo. His tags had been cut out and his DNA connected him to Belgium. No one knows who he is. Before that was the Isdal woman, a body found poisoned and burned alive in Aus Valley, Norway, with her tags missing and links to Belgium. Normally, somebody linked to Belgium would cut the tags out, being murdered and then never identified would be a rare situation. This is a bizarre, dense occurrence of them. I'm fairly certain there aren't more of those. Yeah, Carol, I'm going to live in Jersey. Yes, exactly. All I can say is, if you're a bit mysterious and you're possibly Belgium, Norway probably shouldn't be on the top of your list, because things keep happening. So in the end, Jennifer was buried in an unmarked grave, her clothes thrown away, and her rings and watch sold. People, many, like Ragnar, continue the quest to work out who she was. There is still nothing. Yeah, now, as Ditches point out, poisoning yourself and then burning yourself alive takes a certain level of anger and self-hatred. And then to cut all your tags out. And, again, these are two very different vibes, I get why you might want to immolate yourself, but I don't see why you would simultaneously need to cut all your tags out. There is something very strange here, into which Jennifer Fairgate fits. And the poll has ended, and despite me dropping assassination in on you at the very last minute, it's a 6-1 victory. Now, I don't want to point the finger at anybody, but if you are the man or woman who voted suicide, now would be a good time to tell us why. Sorry, I don't know if this is something you're supposed to do. I don't think you're supposed to single people out. But if you are the lone writer, now why not tell us? Yeah. So that's Jennifer Fairgate. We still don't know. There are a lot of people who will be like, oh, she just shot herself. But you voted suicide as you've already come up with 3 ways. Yes. To be fair, Ditch, although they were technically plausible ways, I'm not sure how much weight we can put behind them. It's one of those cases where, for me, the sheer weight of different doubting things. It's not just, oh, there's no gunshot residue. It's not just, oh, the clothes were weird. It's not just all her addresses didn't exist. It's not just her name was. There's so many things piling up that makes this, to me, an unsolved mystery, and not just a suicide that people won't let go of, which is what some people feel. Some people feel this isn't an unsolved mystery. What's unsolved is who Jennifer really was, but she did shoot herself. I'm not convinced. And really, some sort of secret agent. Exactly, Kat. A lot of people have said maybe because of a Hungarian military gun with the markings acid etched off. This is maybe this is some sort of secret agent. It certainly isn't just some sort of wealthy young woman that's panicked and moved. You don't tend to have this accumulation of weirdness around you if you do that. Yes, Ditcher said, if you're going to stage an assassination to look like suicide, surely you do a better job. Well, yes, this is true. King says, not feeling the suicide. Exactly. A hit on her. Yes, exactly. Maybe it was. What was she doing on those days in that town? Where did she go when she went out for 20 hours in a row and then came back? What else was happening? We just don't know. And one thing I've never been able to work out in all the accounts I've read is why nothing relevant was on security camera. You would think one of the major hotels in Oslo would be up to the neck in security cameras. I can't comment with the level of facts I want on why that did not happen. I can't find it anywhere. So I'm not going to go, the footage disappeared like some people do, because I don't know if there was any. If you choose to follow this story up, you will find people arguing about whether things were covered up or made to disappear. Again, I have tried to stick with this to what's known. Just says, if it was an assassination, it's unlikely to have been done by someone who did it for a living. Yeah, it's all very strange. Now, if you want an unknown crimes, an unsolved crime sort of heavy mystery night, this is the kind of thing that we can do. I certainly feel that this is a more interesting thing for the audience than me just sat here and trotting through, serial killer of the week. I'm trying to find the right balance in material. I'm exploring what people like and what people don't. I feel this has gone a lot better with the audience. So let me know if you were here. She was on Fairgate. If you were here last time and you saw me go through a serial killer that was, is that what you want, or do we? I mean, we're going to spread it around a lot, but let me know which, and if you've been watching these over the weeks, let me know which stories you've most enjoyed, because I can absolutely tailor what we're going to talk about into the stream. So we are getting near the end. We've nearly done 2 hours. Mostly, this was always going to be a more chatty, affiliate, fun party stream. So we spent a lot more time chatting and having fun, and I'm enjoying that. I'm having fun. I hope you have. What I'm thinking of doing next time, having said, I'm not sure gory, weird serial killers are necessarily the most fun thing. We will probably do the Golden State Killer, because the Golden State Killer was caught due to an absolutely fascinating use of DNA, and it's not the use of DNA you're thinking. I'm not going to spoil it, but it has triggered a debate on an almost dystopian level of DNA logging. We'll just pop back to Jennifer, because Dick says, I would lean towards the murder who tried to make it look like a suicide, wasn't an expert. True. Yeah, that's also a good discussion. So Kat said she may have been doing surveillance, got caught by the killer. Exactly. Counter team got her. It may be that she wasn't meant to die until a decision was taken. Maybe she'd seen something, I don't know. But again, we're doing this story because we can have the discussion. We're not saying, and if you're watching this back, we're just exploring options now. We're not arguing passionately that this is the truth, you know. So yeah. Well, witness protection, that's an interesting one, isn't it? You would hope witness protection would be a bit better. To be honest. Okay. So, has everybody had a good time? And I will start preparing the raid. Once again, thank you for everybody for joining me on my affiliate stream. We've had a good audience and a good chat tonight. I've not coughed too much. Thank you, everybody. Oh, Fox says interesting, excellent. We've not done too many, but we've done one. I have waited. I've deliberately waited to do because I think it's good. All right, everybody. Thank you. So, as I promised, we will be raiding out to a cat-based stream. Just because I feel the vibe. No, I'm not reading that out, bitch. Not to look ungrateful, but I think that one. Do I have to read that out? Yeah, I suppose I've just, I talk about people getting murdered and eaten sometimes. So. Ditch Boy has gifted a sub to Cockwrangler69. I'm not sure that's somebody's real name, but I hope they turn up. Yeah, I know you are, so am I at this point. Right, hang on. I'm fairly certain, Ditch, that one night I'll be doing some just sort of egregiously horrible murder, and everyone in chat will go, Ditch, just start putting the meme subs in just to give us some relief. Right, so let me introduce to you where we're going. We're going to a place called Fairgate Farm. Now, I like cats, but it turns out I have a limit, and that limit is possibly Fairgate Farm. They're a cage-free sanctuary for cats who are deemed unadoptable, by which I think they mean lunatics. Cage-free, many cats. It's essentially a warehouse full of cat homes and cats. And I am not sure, in all honesty, how you get in there without some sort of bulletproof safety suit. So if you want to see crazy kitten based fun, do try. No offence to the cats when I call them crazy. I just mean, general crazy fun. But join me in a raid. Great to see everybody tonight. Turns out by doing that raid option, I now can't read chat, which is unhelpful. Let me just peer. Before you go, didn't you? I really should have realised because it isn't. I will read that after Cat and reply in the tech chat room. All right, everyone. Thanks for having a great stream. Do go and enjoy some cat-based hilarity. Take care, everyone. See you next time. So I now need to press this.